Cue the intro.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is up, Matthew?
Not too much, Connor.
And what is up, Nerdy Misfits? It's another podcast episode. It's actually been a while since we've recorded one. Well, a while, but
nothing for the viewership, but for us, it has been a while indeed.
So what's going on with you, Matthew? What's going on? What's the his haps?
What's the his hamps and the
Oh,
mants?
oh, before we get into that, we do have a drink.
Yes, Connor. What are we drinking today?
Sometimes I forget. That means obviously it's a nighttime episode recording day. But today we are drinking a Metropolitan brandy cocktail, which is brandy, sweet vermouth, simple syrup, and bitters. We served it up in a cocktail coupe with a cocktail cherry as garnish.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
It's
Sweet.
sweet. You can still taste a good amount of alcohol, which is good though.
Yep, and it's fruity, kind of got this like fruitiness to it.
Yeah, the aftertaste is really smooth, I find too.
Yep. So,
but what is going on in the Matt Hizzle? Well, for us right now, it's almost middle of November. And weather's finally starting to become fall, almost winter. I feel like the last couple weeks we've just had some really warm days. But otherwise, I'm just trucking along. My goal for the year is to I've updated my goal for reading and stuff. So the goal is to be at 500 completed things. And of that 500 reading things, that would be equivalent. Well, not equivalent, sorry, but of that reading, the plan is to also get to 3,000 manga chapters this year.
damn, it's a lot of chapters.
3 One Piece worth almost.
Speaking of chapters, we went recently after we saw film Red, which we will have a podcast released discussing some of the things we've seen recently. So if it's out before this, then you know our thoughts. If it's out after this, you will know our thoughts. Yeah. So after that, we hit up Chapters. They're having a big sale.
Yep.
And you picked up a couple Stairwares books.
Yes, I picked up the beginning of the Phase 2, Wave 1 of the High Republic series.
Wow, that's some good naming they got going on.
Well,
there.
to be fair, the way it's going is that so you had the Phase 1 had 3 waves, so it seems like each phase is going to have like at least 3 waves. It seems, but the second wave is now taking place 150 years before the Phase 1, which was.
Are they just continually going back?
I think so. Yeah, because. The first phase took place, I want to say, about 200 years before the Phantom Menace. So now with this phase, we're doing 350 years before the Phantom Menace. But Yaddle, it's going to be a big character in this one, I think.
Heck yeah. Some Yaddle action.
Yeah, hey, we got some Yaddle action.
We did.
In the spoiler. Not really.
No.
Just one of the characters.
Which would also be discussed in our...
Tales of the Jedi is what we're referring to, but that will also be... talked about.
Yeah, we're gonna try and keep all the things we've watched available for
of the big things
for this special. Yeah. So
stay tuned for that.
So definitely stay tuned. Or if you've come from or listened to it, heck yeah, then you know our opinions on it.
Exactly.
But yeah. So I picked up a D&D book.
Yeah.
Picked up the Dungeon Master
Master's
Guide. And then we were with a friend who just went crazy. He just picked up how many volumes did you say he had in total?
He picked up
30 something, right?
20, 25, 28 volumes.
28 volumes, which at the discount basically means he was spending about $9 to $10.
$9 to $10 a volume with the discount.
So if you're Canadian, it's roughly $16, $17 per volume usually. So he did pretty good.
Not bad at all. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think I remember what he picked up, but
yeah, there were some things that were like, support locally, but it's like sometimes Amazon just has the things, Sometimes I go to the chapters and they just don't have the manga selection's good but bad at the same time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's a big collection, but if they don't have what you're looking for, then it's
sometimes they're all over the place. Like they'll be like, oh, I have volume 9 of X random manga, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well,
I
I'm
think-
kind of interested, but
But I
maybe
think
I
with
pick up
going to
volume 1.
chapters, it's an experience. You know what I mean? Like trying to find. I don't know. For me, it is. It's always enjoyable.
I mean, my
that
favorite part about
aspect.
going to chapters is seeing when manga is actually recommended by one of the staff. Because they do like the little stickers where they're like,
Cole recommended this.
yeah,
Or Milo.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just like whenever it's on something that I like, I'm all like, what a cultured individual. Like I remember there was one who had like Rent a Girlfriend and one that had Dress Up Darling, and I was like, these are some cultured individuals, and they were both females.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are some cultured ladies right here. Good taste. But yeah, and then obviously that I picked up the DM book because I actually ran my first one shot, which I can't actually remember what the heck it was called. I think it was called The Silver Tower.
Yeah. Silvery Tower.
And it went pretty well overall. I think all the lads that were participating enjoyed it, which in the end is the ultimate goal. Like as the game master, dungeon master, that's kind of it's what you want. As long as everyone had fun, including yourself, you know, if you had a good time doing it and they had a good time, I feel like that's doesn't matter quite how you got there, as long as you got there and everyone had a good time.
This was your first time DMing before, right?
Yep. It was indeed the very first time.
Tell me your thoughts. Like, how did it go? Like, a lot of prep work, obviously
No.
involved. Nothing, just blind. You know.
Well, the one shot I picked was a very first DM friendly style. So it was kind of like you go here, you fall, you get your individuals here, then you do this, they fight these. If they do get this check, this is what they need to get. So it was very much more laid out. Obviously, it's a one shot, so it's already gonna be a little bit more on the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I did change up a few things. Like at the beginning, I had them talk a little bit more, and I created a couple NPCs to like have fun with them, or for them to chat with before going, instead of just being like, you're hired by random people, you're going. I made it so that similar to the one shot we did. If you haven't checked it out, check out our session 0 of creating the characters and check out our actual one shot special. But it was similar to where I did it so that it's open enough where the characters, if they want to do another one shot, they can use the same characters, or if they don't choose not to, they don't have to. But it's open ended enough where we can keep doing other one shots with the same party.
Okay.
So that's why I kind of created the NPCs as like kind of a familiar, like these are the people that usually hire them, and they're familiar with each other already.
Now, did you find, was there any like hiccups or difficulties that came with DMing?
I would say hilariously, since I had it mostly where it was still stressful, like coming up, like, because obviously you have to familiarize yourself with the one shot, so you have to make sure you read through it. You kind of, I like pre-planned potential if things, because you know sometimes you want to try and think of, if you know your group members, you might have an idea of where they might go. So I did think of a few potential, hiccups that they might cause. So I'm just trying to like already do damage control. That, not that you can predict what people will do, but I feel like if you know your party members, then you kind of have an idea.
That's fair.
So that was stressful. It was also a live session, which we do all of our sessions online.
Is this your first? Was that your first live?
No, we did.
Well,
live,
not like.
we did
Wait,
live
let me
together.
rephrase that.
We did live already.
You're right.
But
Did you guys do fully paper? Did you guys use D&D Beyond? all?
Our one player had his iPad, so he used D&D Beyond, but
Okay.
everyone else had paper. I had my laptop open. I was playing music through that.
Add the suspense.
Exactly. But it went well. The paper, like, I'm not going to pretend I know all the rules of D&D, but none of the rules I didn't know came up, so that's good. But everyone was good. Everyone understood what we were going for. Funny thing that happened was the way it was designed was it was like an adventure. So they got hired to do something. They hired to go get a staff. And it's at an old abandoned wizard, broken down tower. And they couldn't even get in the front door. And the one character can fly. So he flew over, and the first encounter is like once you get through the door. And so he got knocked in the first encounter because he was by himself because the other two couldn't get through the door. They rolled a natural 1 on their thieves on their tools to lockpick. So it got stuck in there, so they couldn't attempt to lockpick anymore. And I think it was their only set of tools as well. And then they rolled extremely low to break down the door. They never bothered to attack the door, so that's on them. I'm not going to tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. And they could have climbed over the wall, but they chose to keep trying to break down the door instead of climb. And while they were doing that, the other party member was like fighting 4 spiders by himself. And he rolled poorly. So he got downed.
Damn.
Yeah. It was designed for 4 to 5 level 3s. Mm-hmm. It was only 3 people playing. Yep. So what I did to adjust was there was a cleric. I let him be level 4. So he had an extra spell and some more health and stuff. So I didn't want like the people who were hardcore damage dealers to be too high of a level. So it was 2 level 3s, 1 level 4, and then I gave them health potions to start. And I handed out a couple more health potions based on this. There was a spot where in one of the rooms, if they got a high enough check, that it was only 1 health potion. Mm-hmm. But when they got the check, I gave them 3.
Okay, good call.
Because, well, and the other thing is the way it's like they weren't going to get a long rest. I wasn't going to let them get a long rest. Mm-hmm. Like they got wrecked, and the one thing I did to add more stress to the situation was I created. Thankfully, they didn't fight them because I didn't have them actually made. So I would have to come up with them on the spot. But I had other parties that found out about the staff and where it was in the forest on the way. So to kind of rush them, to be like, oh, there's other parties that want this. Like, you need to get it now. You don't have a choice. And then it made the party sound too ridiculous for them to just kill. Like, I made the one party like a party of 8. So
is that indirect railroading, or how's that work?
Yeah, I guess in a way. Well, if they went to fight him, I would have wrote it, but it would have been a bad decision for them. But it was just more to make sure that they kept going, and that it was more so that they understood that they couldn't take a long rest to give that like sense of like there are other people. Like in general, a one shot is railroaded. It's a story that's already supposed to be told. It's just how they get there. Yeah. Right. So I had all of those different groups specifically set up so that I didn't think that they would get that damaged, but my goal was that if they did all, because there were going to be spiders along all the different rooms and different creatures and whatnot, and they bumped in, and originally they were going to bump into all of them, potentially, if they went into all the rooms. But after the first fight, they were already using a shite ton of healing and their potions in the first combat. I was like, okay, they're probably going to think that they're going to try and get off a long rest. So I made sure to like get that out of their mind, basically, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because this is the story and you're already at the tower. Mm-hmm. So, and they took a short rest, which was fine. And they used their hit die. And then the funniest part was the actual big bad at the end is like the who used to be the wizard of the tower and stuff. And they killed him actually a lot easier than they had with the spiders because they were all together. They had no problem.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, but they enjoyed it. I didn't do too many voices. I did like 2 voices. I had like this gnome character who was like the messenger who went to go get them. Mm-hmm. And he was like a very timid gnome, like, like I forgot that. I think they were like the Dark Triad or something was their Dark Triad or something was their name. I was like, oh, you guys, if you're interested, there's another mission for you. Like that style.
Okay.
And then I had the big bad at the end was like all like more Gollum like, like greedy, like this is my treasure, what are you doing? I kind of went that style with it, and they had a good time. They beat them. The main staff at the end is like the whole reason in that they're hired is to get the staff to keep it out of the hands of evil, because it's a staff to control dragons or whatever. And knowing one of my party members is just based on his characters he's played and his decisions, he a thief no matter what. So I knew for a fact the second I hired them. So this is how I tried to avoid him trying to steal it. So what I did was the first failsafe I put in place was, you guys have done multiple jobs for these people already. So I'm trying to create that there's trust.
Yeah, level of trust.
Yeah, so they know that you're not going to take stuff because they've already hired you to do stuff like this. So I was kind of hoping that would come into his mind. And then once they were talking amongst each other, where he was all like, because they tell them that this staff needs to be taken out of, like, you know, and they're like, what exactly does it do? And then you kind of tell them. And they were talking like, what if we just take it? And I was like, that's when I created some OP, like, level 18 character, you know? I was like, oh, I'm like, some mage puts his hand on you and your armor starts to, like, singe a bit. And you can feel the heat from his hand as he's like, I know you guys will do a great job and you'll be back here soon. You know, like, trying to intimidate them so they're like, oh.
Yikes.
Crud.
I like that.
So that was like my way of being like, you're bringing the staff back.
Mm-hmm.
And they were allowed to keep any of the treasure they found in the thing. And I rolled pretty good for them for the treasure hoard. So, and the best part is, like, when they bring the staff back, the staff gets identified. And it's like all the staff actually does is summon like this pseudo dragon familiar that can't really do anything, but he's heckin' cute.
So never mind, I can't ask that question in case any of the players are asking. Never mind.
Well, what players? Like, you can ask.
Well, I was just saying, for like a future story, would you bring that staff back?
Yeah, they have the staff.
So they physically.
Yeah,
have it.
once
Okay.
once the, like, head people in charge, I can't remember that I have it all written down in my notes. Once they identify and realize it's not to control dragons, but it just summons the pseudo dragon, they're just like, are you guys interested in the staff? They're like, yeah. So even though
Okay.
there's no real mage on their team, because it can be used as a like an object for magic, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have more players, and maybe one of them will be
Exactly.
a magic user as well.
You never know.
But yeah, they all had fun. Maybe we'll try another one shot with some of because a couple of our D&D group members from our regular campaign weren't able to make it out. We were all together for the League of Legends Championship, World Championship finals.
You should do another one shot with the people that weren't there separately, and then have a third.
Bring
one
the groups
shot.
together
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, the third session would be both parties coming together.
That's not a bad idea.
It'd be good storytelling, because you've implied that some of the treasures the group is going after, other groups are going after it too, right? So
yeah, then maybe they were one of the groups in the
potential
forest.
future team up, you know?
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You run the same story with the other group, except
members?
when they get there, it's gone already, and then they're out to hunt the other group. Think about it. It's some good storytelling.
Yeah, but
That's
PvP is not.
That's too much. Yeah, PvP is not super fun.
It's
with
not
D&D.
balanced. It's
Yeah.
not balanced.
True.
But yeah. How about you, Matt? Well, you're planning your second session for Power Rangers. You plan on
Yes.
joining us for D&D anytime soon?
I hope so. Life has been freaking busy, man. A lot of things going on in my personal life, you know. I'm just gonna adjust this quick. Yeah. So I've planned. I don't want to say I've planned the next 3 sessions or so, but I've planned the story points for the next 3 sessions if they follow
A
way.
general rule.
Yeah. Generally, I have the next few sessions stories figured out.
Until they decide to go the opposite way
Pretty
in the
much,
first
yeah.
next session.
Yeah, I have a couple plot twists coming up that I can't reveal because I know some
Nice.
of the players, some of the Rangers listened, so I don't want to spoil something now if we haven't had our second session yet. But I'm super excited. I've been using a website called Hero Forge, which is like an online 3D
maker for the minis. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for some of the Rangers just to give the players some more like creativity, like this is what you guys kind of look like, morphed kind of thing. So that's been super fun. But yeah, I'm super excited because I wrote a lot of lore. Because again, this is a fully homebrew situation, which I kind of regret in a way.
But you're loving it.
I'm loving it at the same time. Yeah, first time DMing, like doing a homebrew, I think was very risky.
That's one thing. I have so much respect for my DM, who we've had on, Eric.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to do that much, and I'm like, oh man.
It's stressful, man.
We used Monopoly pieces for our
Nice.
because the maps I didn't have anything to do
Mhm.
maps for, like any like big chart paper or anything. So what we did was I printed them on just regular size paper, and then we just used Monopoly pieces. I
Monopoly
mean,
would work though. It works.
it got the job done.
Exactly.
The idea was there. We all were separate pieces.
Yeah. Well, when I did my session one, we used Star Wars minis,
Yeah, whatever works.
so it
right?
worked, you know. But I'm hoping for next time I'm gonna try and find something more closer to it.
Well,
But
that's
it's
the one
hard.
thing I think is nice. Like in person was harder. It's fun to roll dice.
Yep.
And shout out to our boy Kurt, who was one of the players. He all made us little dice vaults
Nice.
and dice.
oh,
Yeah.
you'll have to show me them after. I'm curious.
Yeah. So he made us some dice and a dice vault, which was really nice to him. So a shout out to the boy. It's always nice to roll real dice because I just roll them on D&D Beyond because it does everything for me. And
Yeah.
I'm already have it open and I just want to like take up more space on my desk. And also that way when I roll like 2 D20s or a D20, you know, I know that no one will question me. It's legit. It's on the screen. Everyone else sees it.
Exactly.
I don't need to be questioned. Not saying anyone in our group's a cheater, but I'm just saying like, you know,
Mhm.
D&D Beyond, if everyone can see it, it's legit.
Then it's the truth.
But it was fun rolling real dice. Also fun rolling dice behind the screen. That's fun. Not people not knowing what's going on or
See,
why
that-
you're rolling.
Yeah. See that, like, as a player, I feel like that's stressful, but at the same time, like, as a DM, you almost have to have like a poker face as well.
No, my poker faces, I'm just always the same. Like I just have that
Yeah.
like evil smirk where like maybe I was just rolling dice because I didn't have a reason. I just rolled it.
Really
But they don't know
throw
why.
them off.
They don't know
yeah.
why.
Yeah. You open the door. Okay.
Literally though, it's like
Nothing's in there, but I'll just roll this dice for the
I'm
fun
like,
of
oh,
it.
make a perception check, and I'm rolling the die even though there's nothing in there to like stealth from or anything.
Yeah. You just gotta throw them off, you know.
But yeah, I think the one thing that's really nice about online tools is I think there's lots of pre-made maps available on
Yeah.
different communities and whatnot for different apps, which you can just tinker with yourself to kind of fit more into what you want, or you can just make them from scratch. And I think as long as you are familiar with the program, I feel like it's a lot easier and cheaper, much, much cheaper. Because obviously you can just do the straight up paper, have a map, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Mhm.
Definitely nice when you're in person to have. But then there's the next level, right? Which is like the actual like materials where you like 3D print stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you
You go
have
from
like
2D to 3D,
Yeah.
basically.
and that stuff is expensive.
Yep.
But on online, you can just buy one program. Some programs are even free. As long as you get familiar with it, you can make it really awesome maps. So I think that aspect's better,
Mm-hmm.
but it is fun to see people in person as well.
I think it just adds more.
Well, and you can see like
excitement,
people's
I guess.
actual reactions.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess we could be doing a video call, but
It's not the same. You know?
well, it's like if we're doing combat, we already have our virtual tabletop open, and then
Yeah. I do remember when we were doing our first session in Power Rangers, one of the best parts of viewing in person is that this character named Jim opens his backpack and he throws the morphers to the 4 Rangers, and 2 of them roll so badly they both miss it.
yeah, they don't. Yeah, we had a similar situation. The character that could fly tried to throw his health potion to a character. He rolled incredibly poorly for the throw.
Oh no!
And then the other character rolled incredibly badly for the catch.
oh,
And then they saw a health potion shatter in
shattered.
front of
Yeah,
them.
I knew it. I was like, I know where this is going.
You should have had your power. You should have had your morpher break. Oh, looks like you're not morphing with everyone else.
Slink. Well, thankfully, the other 2 characters that got their morphers, they used like their action to go and pick it up and like try and throw them. So
Smart,
then, thankfully, the second time they
They passed.
rolled, they passed. Thankfully, but to be fair, I think just throughout it, there was a couple. One of the players, Eddie, he was doing bad rolls the entire time, except for one where I wanted him to do a bad roll, and he did a really good roll.
Of course.
But
That's
otherwise,
the way it crumbles.
it's the way of the dice roll. But he was climbing up a shelf. And he did I think he rolled like a 9 or something, just really bad. And I
Right,
wrote it.
but first session, level 1.
Yeah.
9 9's not horrible.
But I wrote it down as 10. I was like, you know what?
Oh, yeah,
Because he had to roll a D20 and a D6, I think.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? 10 out of 26. That's not bad.
No, it's definitely very
Yeah.
doable. Yeah.
So I got him to like be able to climb up, I think like 3 out of 4 shelves, and then the bookshelf just tumbles on top of him.
Yeah, I
was
hate
like,
to see it.
Ay. Even when the earthquake, I got everyone to do like a check just to be able to like stabilize themselves, and everyone just got a poor roll. Like it was
just
not a
checking
good
for
time.
natural ones and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta have fun with the party, you know. But it's always fun to see their reaction in person, or like.
Yeah, we'll have to have you join our session for. I know we've talked about it, and you've talked to the DM a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're obviously busy, so it wouldn't be a permanent thing, but pop in every now.
Not temperamental. Sorry, a temporary.
Every now and then, character, pop in character. But I think it would be fun for you to talk about how you feel about like the characters you met in our campaign, and what you're thinking.
Do a separate podcast. It's just my character being like, I met this weird one.
Just a different perspective, and we can talk about it on the podcast, and you can be like, they're a wild group. Could be a fun go. So if that happens, or you want to see Matt join our session and give his thoughts on it, let us know.
I was thinking about doing that as like an idea for later on in one of the podcasts. Is just like a soft retelling of one of the sessions.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't really like be a long episode or anything, but it'd be kind of fun just to like.
Well, maybe if you have the gear, you could also set up a recording of one of your sessions. Maybe.
I'll also make a script and I'll just get them to all come in and record bit lines now. make a little show out of it.
But it could be good if you guys have a recorded session for see how it goes. Everyone can see. Could be fun. But yeah, that was other than that, I watched the League. That was before League, and then we watched League. Lil Nas X performed the opening ceremony. Yeah. It was weird, as you'd expect. But
not my favorite of the League songs, but not my least favorite either.
Yeah, if you're not a League of Legends fan, in the competitive League scene, there's a massive tournament. The World Championship happens every year. And they always have like an anthem each year for the song. And they've had some artists like Imagine Dragons do their songs. And
their hit song Warriors from 2014 was
for League.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year we had Lil Nas X do the song, and the song was a decent song. I just didn't feel like it was.
Didn't give me League vibes though.
Wasn't as hype for League, yeah. But
I've heard it on the radio a bunch though. When you showed
it was on the radio.
When you showed it to me once, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, right? And then I was driving home like a few days ago, and I was like, why does this song sound familiar? I turn up, I'm like, wait a second. This is the League song for the year. I was genuinely shocked, to be honest. But again, Lil Nas X he's pretty big, so.
He's definitely probably one of the biggest that they've had, if not the biggest, in terms of pop stars.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel as a I don't know, because sometimes they've picked artists that all like League or play League. I'm not sure if I haven't seen anything from Lil Nas X, so I can't say either way if he does or doesn't, but felt like less so. But yeah, ended up being a lot longer than expected. The underdog actually ended up winning. So
no way.
Underdog story, but
perfect.
Went the full 5-game distance. There were a few delays at the beginning, so went to bed at like 2:30 a.m.
Nice. That time difference.
Well, I mean, the past few World Championships have been in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So pick your poison. Would you rather wake up at 3 a.m. to watch the games? Would you rather be heading to bed at like 2 a.m.?
That's
2,
true.
3 a.m.?
I prefer to be going to bed at 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
So that was what happened. So I'm not upset about it.
Going back to the beginning of this episode, did you buy anything else other than the Dungeon Master Guide, or was that all you bought at
That's all I got.
Okay.
That is all I got because they have the sale and the Wizard of the Coast. Their books are a little expensive. They do be a little pricey. So yeah.
Yeah, because I bought the 2 Star Wars books. I bought the Ultra Analysis for My Hero, which is whatever. And then I bought a Marvel graphic novel called Marvel has this newer style graphic novel called Voices.
Okay.
And they do various collections. So there's like a Pride one. There's an Indigenous one. I'm trying to think of the other ones, to be honest. Those are the 2 that came to mind. But I picked up the Indigenous one.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, it's a collection of different one-off issues of Marvel's Indigenous characters. And all the stories are done by Indigenous writers and Indigenous artists.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
So, and I like even just like the opening not panel, but like the opening couple pages just shows you like the top Marvel characters that are indigenous. Cause like Marvel has like 14 characters that are decently, I'm going to say decently big because not too many of them are huge. But it was so cool to see like the different indigenous characters. And ironic enough, most of them are from Alpha Flight,
Okay.
which is obviously the
Yeah.
Canadian X-Men. But obviously the big one right now is Echo. So for those who have watched the Hawkeye show, she's in the Hawkeye show. In the comics right now, she is the Phoenix entity, which is pretty insane. But what makes her character unique is obviously she's indigenous, but she's also deaf.
Oh, okay.
So she's a very interesting character, and she has like a lot of background with Daredevil, Kingpin. That's why she was in Hawkeye and stuff like that. I believe she's getting her own show, so I'm super excited for that. But we shall see.
Is Daredevil going to end up becoming that hero that's just like always popping in on different things now, you think?
I think Marvel, the way it's doing it is they're making like their own
They're trying to just tie them
tiny
in.
universe on Disney Plus, and then the MCU.
I mean, I get it.
You know, I think it's a good way to do it.
I'm sure contractually it's very, very difficult to have the crossover of big blockbuster films, which every Marvel movie is, and TV shows. So it kind of makes sense that they're in the same universe, but they're kind of in their own bubbles.
Yeah, but they're doing a better job than what they did of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which they did okay with at the beginning of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm going to be honest, I have not seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I've seen the first 3 seasons.
But I know that like throughout it, like based on when the
3 or 4
movies were getting
seasons.
released.
Yeah, they just had like little impacts on like what was happening in the show. The goal for me when I was watching was obviously you kind of wanted to see how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. affected the movies, you know, because all the Avengers all know Agent Coulson's dead, but he's not dead. Would have been cool to see something with him then being revealed he's alive. Or
for him to come back or something later on.
Yeah, so, but yeah, they're kind of just stuck in their own bubble. They plan on using She-Hulk in any of the Marvel movies? Or you don't think so?
I don't know. Like, I could see them doing an A-Force movie a few years from now. Like,
It
the more
seems
female-led
stuff. Or, like, we know there's a Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
As not for as it sounds, they could have already the 5th member of She-Hulk
They could.
right in the group, even though it's not 4.
Depending on the story.
Would make it different than the other 2 films.
Exactly. And depending on the story, they could just kill one of the Fantastic Four members right off, and She-Hulk will replace them.
Yeah, it's true.
That would also make it very different than Fantastic, like the other Fantastic Four
The real question
films.
is, do they have Chris Evans be Johnny Storm?
No, they won't.
They should do it.
Unless they multiverse it.
He should be both. I saw also Chris Evans was the People magazine's sexiest man this year.
The Rock refused to believe it.
The Rock refused to believe it?
He was like, no, I ain't giving up my title. And obviously in a joking manner.
Yeah,
But I'm
of
pretty
course.
sure it was The Rock that was like, yeah, no, my title, sorry, bud.
I'm surprised. I looked, and he hasn't won it before.
I know.
Which I found shocking, honestly. I found that a little bit surprising.
You find it shocking because you're a nerd, though.
Yes.
Chris Evans has one of the highest different nerd roles.
Yes, he's
in
in many
cinematic.
different superhero movies. He's been 3 heroes, right? Or 3.
It's been more than that. Like, he has like 8 credits for superhero or like nerd based films, because you have him in Fantastic Four as Johnny Storm. You have him as Captain America. He was in The Losers, which is another DC product. He voiced Casey Jones in the animated 2004 TMNT movie.
Oh, I think I remember you saying that to me. Yeah.
Trying to remember the other roles he's done, but he's done Scott Pilgrim.
He was in Scott Pilgrim.
He's one of the evil
exes?
X's. Yeah, he's the skateboarder one.
Nice.
He's like the famous actor. So that's a big one as well. Have you ever read Scott Pilgrim? Or watched the movie?
I've seen the movie, but never read them.
Pretty good. Obviously, yeah. So Fantastic Four, TMNT, Scott Pilgrim, Snowpiercer, which is another big one. Oh my gosh, I don't want his awards. I want his filmography.
His awards. He's won many awards, including People's Magazine's Sexiest Man. But yeah, it's just funny because Chris Hemsworth won it, but forever ago. Not forever ago, but like first Thor.
Yeah.
Like first or second Thor movie, I'll go.
But I think just because Chris Evans has like a weird filmography, but he's playing also some really good roles. Like I can't really think of a bad Chris Evans film.
Well,
where
I think
it's his fault.
I think it's deserved. I think he's a very attractive gentleman.
I agree.
And from everything I've read and seen from him online, he seems like a genuinely pretty
Just a
kind
nice person. Yeah.
Like he's always like supporting good causes and stuff. So I feel like it's a good person to have.
I agree.
But any other news from you, Matt? Oh, give us your Avatar: The Last Airbender update, Matt.
There is no update. I'm
I can't remember when this. I can't remember when this episode is airing, but
don't worry. First episode of the new year, it will be me talking about how I finished up Avatar: The Last Airbender. Don't you worry.
Oh, I'm holding you to that.
First special of the new year.
First special of the new year: Avatar: The Last Airbender, watched by our newbie.
Let's pull up a calendar here.
First watch of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Do I make you watch all of Legend of Korra in that time too?
No.
Yeah, it's true. That'd be torturous.
So January 6th, I'm going to say it right now. We're going to release an episode. Happy New Year. First special of the new year. It's going to be us discussing my thoughts all on Avatar. And depending how much I like Avatar, because you know me well enough that if I really enjoy it, I'll end up watching Legend of Korra.
Yeah, you'll
you know
probably
how I
crank through it.
freaking love the expanded universe crap.
Yeah, that's true.
Christmas is on a Sunday this year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So as of recording this, obviously Halloween passed on the 31st, and we did put out a special. There was some controversy.
Yeah.
Some people did not like our opinions. I just want to say, put it on the record. First of all, we tried each of those candies.
We did.
It wasn't just looking at it. That tier list, I had to go find pictures of each of those stupid candies for.
It was a lot of work
to make our own tier list, because those are the candies we found. So those are the candies we tried. And yeah, there are some things I might have edited at the end but it's just based on when we tried them.
Well, I just think also like,
and it's easy to say, oh yeah, this is the best, when most of the time, if you're saying that, you might be lying. When was the last time you actually had that? Or actually, a big hot take was some people were saying Whoppers are better than Maltesers. And all I'm going to say is that person cannot be trusted if that's your opinion.
It's true. We're looking at you, Ebats. Listen here, buddy.
Because
you got to try all these different chocolates first, okay?
Yeah, we were trying them. And some of them were bad. I don't know what else to say. Some of them were straight up not good. I would put Kit Kat higher. I would put Kit Kat in A tier. It's just we had it so early, and I didn't want to like put things too high. I didn't want to have too many things in super high tiers.
It's true. Right? You don't want to like be like throw everything that you really enjoy in A tier.
Yeah.
You know?
That's part of the issue.
But stay tuned, because we're going to have another tier list.
Oh, are we?
We are. Come around the Christmas season. What is that tier list going to be about? You guys will just have to listen.
What's your favorite candy cane?
Favorite flavor candy cane. It's just us trying 26 different flavors of candy canes.
Minty.
No.
Ooh, this one's a little bit more minty.
This one's slightly more fruity, but also a hint of mint. No,
Ooh,
it
cinnamon.
won't be. It's not going to be candy canes. But stay tuned for that episode. I'm super excited for that one to come out. We haven't recorded it yet, so don't think that. But closer to Christmas, we'll have that one. Closer to the holidays, I should say.
Closer to the holidays.
You have a favorite Christmas movie?
Favorite Christmas movie? Honestly, I don't really like many Christmas movies. My mom loves Elf. She loves it.
Can you guess what my least favorite Christmas
Elf.
movie is? It's Elf.
You would think it was her first time watching the film every time she watches it. She laughs like it's the first time she's ever seen it.
No.
Yep. She sure do. So we always watch Elf.
How many times a year? How many times the Christmas season? Sorry.
Say at least, I would say twice.
It's twice too many.
But it wouldn't surprise me if we catch like glimpse of it on TV or something.
Always on TV.
Yeah.
Every channel has it playing all the friggin' time.
This is the best.
It's not the best.
I like the Grinch is okay.
Like the Jim Carrey, the live action one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay.
That's yeah. I don't like Christmas Carol, any of them. Like some of them obviously look okay.
Yeah.
And the acting, I just meh. Christmas
Of the
Carol's
Christmas
meh.
carols, I really enjoy the Jim Carrey one.
Yeah, I like the animated one. Christmas with the Cranks is like, whatever. The Santa movies are all pretty good. The Santa
Are you
Claus
gonna watch
movies.
the new show?
There's gonna be Santa Claus the show.
Tim Allen coming back as Santa Claus. He's coming back. They're
Then I'll
making
watch it.
They're making a show.
Those were probably my favorite as a kid.
They
those.
hold up. In my, like
Three is
for nostalgia. The third one not so much because the
Three's a
weird.
little weak.
Yeah.
Three's a little weak, but the first two are solid, super solid.
They're cute.
I like them.
They're good.
What's your favorite Christmas movie, Matt?
Honestly, like the top ones would be the Santa Claus ones with Tim Allen. Same with How to Grinch. There's one that came out last year that I really enjoyed I think it's called Love Hard. It's one of the Netflix original ones, which sounds terrible by default, but it's a good comedy one.
Okay.
It's got this new upcoming comedians in it. And it's a weird catfish story where like they meet online after she's given up on dating, like that cliche.
Oh, okay.
But she decides to fly to the opposite end of the states to meet him on Christmas, and turns out instead of being like a big buff dude, it's like a tinier like Asian fellow. But it's just a funny movie, which I really enjoy because
it's like a rom-com.
Yeah, very much a Christmas rom-com, Hallmark style almost.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I've never seen Die Hard. You haven't either?
I've never seen Die Hard. I just
oh my
to
goodness.
beat the controversy. I'm like, yeah, please, totally, yeah.
Oh,
We're gonna
no.
get so much hate as soon as people hear that we've never seen Die Hard.
Oh no. Oops.
Whoopsie daisy.
But yeah, I feel like that's a good spot to go. We'll go into our fan question. All right, Matthew. What do we have? What do we got going on for the question?
The question of the day, which we've kind of answered in a past episode all about card games, but today we're gonna discuss a little bit better. Coming back from Ebats, that guy that didn't like our candy tier list, his question of the day is, what's the better
Dirty
card
arrow
game?
lover.
What's the better card game? Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or Magic? Of the big three.
Well, I'm a little biased.
Yeah, I know you are.
And by a little, I mean extremely biased. But it depends on what we're talking. If we're talking straight up balance, like best competitive card game, I think it's Magic. If we're talking about the most fun, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! By a mile.
You want a soft middle Pokemon.
The most fun, Yu-Gi-Oh!
But at what point for Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh! For me, well, I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Up until Pendulums came out. Pendulums.
Then you hated it.
Yeah, I didn't like Pendulums much, and that's also when I was like kind of falling out of it anyways. And I will say, positives and negatives of Yu-Gi-Oh! Positives, super fun, cool monsters, has an anime. That's a bonus. Obviously, Pokemon does too, but
Sorry, Magic.
no one's ever heard of Pokemon. And so it's got its anime, which is awesome. It's got really cool card designs, and it's very fast paced.
Yep.
Super fast, which is also its negative. It's definitely one of the negatives that it's fast paced because, in my opinion, you can't really play it a one game. Because if you are familiar with competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, then you know there's a thing called side decking, which is 15 separate cards that you then have to switch out after a duel. So like if I was to duel Matt and I won, we each get to go into our side deck. If you have a properly prepared side deck, hopefully you have cards that you're able to sub out of your deck, put in the side cards to hopefully counter. So there's some strategy there.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're just doing like a one-off duel, if the person has a faster or a ridiculous deck, they win. And that's unfortunate.
I do this by default because there's not really like with Yu-Gi-Oh, the structure is obviously like your draw phase and you have your main phase.
This is the issue with Yu-Gi-Oh. Hardest to learn, I think. way too many rules, way too many ways rules go, and way too complex.
I agree.
Like early Yu-Gi-Oh is a lot easier.
I was gonna say
understand.
with Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're ever getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, you almost have to start at the beginning of
And
base
work your way-
monsters,
work
and
your way
then
through.
base effect, and then you get into like synchro. Not even synchro. Sorry, like fusion, then synchro.
It's definitely one way,
like,
but that's the thing. It's a time sinker.
It is.
Where I feel like Magic and Pokemon are a lot easier to pick up, hard to master, but easier to pick up.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh is hard to pick up, also hard to master, and unfortunately for majority of them, they're all very expensive if you want to be super competitive. If you're just playing with friends, it's no big deal. I feel like Matt and I have played Pokemon multiple times, and it's pretty fun, honestly, when you both have really crappy decks. Like, it's sometimes you're
Anyone can win.
Sometimes you're stuck, and you're like, I'm not getting what I need.
Yeah.
I'm stuck, and you're like, and then that's it. You're just both drawing.
I think
like,
it's also
I'm stuck.
with Pokemon too. I think it's also good for like I don't want to say nostalgic from watching like the anime, but like part of it is
not from the anime. Some of it's fun when you have Pokemon you like.
Yeah.
But the problem is with every new set, there's new mons. So if you're not as attached to that gen,
You're not gonna care as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Magic, it's just fantasy. Like, there's
I-
nothing wrong with them, but nothing.
I just haven't. I think in the long run I would like Magic, but I've only ever played like twice with just basic standard decks.
Yeah,
I
but
feel
it's
like
still
I'm not-
fun.
It's still enjoyable.
Yeah, it's still fun with them. It's just Pokemon is so close to Magic. Like there are big differences, but they're similar.
Yeah.
And I think since you like Pokemon, that's just what you gravitate towards. So of the two, you're more likely to enjoy and play Pokemon just because you like Pokemon
Exactly.
as Pokemon. But to answer your question, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! But asterisk, I'm biased, asterisk, it's a ridiculous game and hard to learn if you haven't played it.
For me, Pokemon. I don't know.
I recommend if you are interested in playing a card game, play Pokemon.
Yep.
Because for the most part, you probably know, you've probably heard of Pokemon.
You know a good amount of the Pokemon that you're going to see on the cards.
So you could always make a deck kind of maybe related to certain, as long as you're not playing super competitive, you could probably make a deck based on whatever Pokemon you want. So
Top 3 Pokemon you can easily make a deck out of.
So
is it going to work? Maybe not, but it's okay.
But you can make it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously has the most unique style of competitive rules as well, where Magic and Pokemon for their competitive rules, it's sets. So if you're playing competitively, you have to use whatever the current set is. So you have to make a deck from the set.
Yep.
So there's goods and bads. Goods of that is you can play those cards. Bad is you have to buy a new set every time they release it. Yu-Gi-Oh! You can play the same deck, but there's a ban list, which there's semi-limited, limited, and forbidden. So that means some cards are limited to 2, because in Yu-Gi-Oh! You're allowed max 3 of a card. But sometimes some cards are limited to 2, some are limited to 1, some you're not allowed to play. So you're able to play old decks. Just they keep like power increasing, the power scaling is so ridiculous in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's like if you play you say you're like a very like chill old school kind of synchro deck. For the most part, that probably is not going to keep up because that involves a lot more setup and it's slower, and you'll probably lose in one turn to some newer meta deck. That's
Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know the first thing about this newer style summoning, the link summoning. There's like a whole new monster zone or something.
2 zones.
Yeah.
Well, originally the goal of link summoning was to reduce special summoning from
Makes
the extra
sense.
deck, because it would be your turn and you would have a whole field of extra deck cards.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if somehow you couldn't win, like it's like good luck opponent, because you would be like shutting them out from being able to do anything. For some decks, that's like the goal.
Yeah.
And the whole point of links was they pointed to zones, and those were, you had to summon your link monster in the link zone, and then that pointed to other zones, and that's where you could special summon cards from your extra deck.
It's too much.
So, but then they just made the link monsters broken, where people were just summoning like 3 link monsters in one turn that then pointed to the remaining spots, and then you would have
And that's how you get your butt kicked in one turn, kids.
and then you would have your whole extra deck summoned anyways.
Yeah.
So they changed it the ruling so that extra deck can be summoned again, because that did ruin some classic synchro decks. Like there's a whole bunch of decks that are like Quasar decks that are they just synchro summon like crazy, and then eventually get to Quasar, who's like a really busted synchro. So it's kind of like watching an Exodia deck draw, but instead of drawing, you're watching a guy synchro summon until he gets Quasar. And then there was also decks like Dragunity, which is all about synchro summoning, that were ruined by only being able to either have that link monster that pointed some, or only being able to summon one extra deck card since you didn't summon a link.
Okay.
But link monsters aren't overly complicated. It's just knowing all the link monsters and stuff. But now that they switched it back, where you can just play, a regular synchro deck now again, which is nice.
It's confusing. I think that is one thing with Pokemon. I don't know. I can't speak for Magic, but like the core rules of Pokemon have not really changed for the card game.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
for Yu-Gi-Oh. There was link summoning, and then now it's more.
And
you remember when Pendulum summoning? They had their own extra zone.
Yeah,
and they took that.
That's
away.
why they were broken. Yeah, that was their way of hard nerfing them.
Yeah,
because they needed it.
Now they needed to take spots of the spell and Magic spots.
But what Eddie had added on to his question was he wanted to ask like pre I think he was saying pre-synchro.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of we can go a little bit more in. So have you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, when did you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? When do you know? Like, when did you stop playing? What kind of I'm gonna call them.
Got me into
I'm gonna call
Yu-Gi-Oh.
them gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like when Pokemon games come out. There's always a new gimmick.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a new thing, and you're like, okay, whatever. Thanks.
Dynamax, Gigantamax.
Yeah, thanks, Niantic.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for this, but cool, I guess. Or Game Freak. I'm sorry, Niantic.
Yeah.
That's Pokemon Go. But Game Freak is always like, oh yeah, here's
something new.
Here's the Mega Evolutions. You're like, awesome, and then they're like, okay, we're no more Mega or very few Mega Evolutions and the moves.
They do that in the card. So that's obviously you're more speaking of
Z moves, right?
So you're more speaking in the anime and the game itself, like the video game. But in the card game, they do something as well. So like,
well, yeah, the VMAX.
There
and
was
stuff.
EX, and then there was X, and then there was.
But those cards are always.
hundreds.
But those cards are always the same, in the sense that this is a special card.
Yeah,
it's a little bit stronger, but the downside is if it dies, there's two prize cards.
Yeah, like
that's
three.
Yeah, but that's always been the same throughout. That they're a special card that's defeated, then
but they change that special card every series.
Yeah, but for the most part, that's
similar,
all that's doing is changing the set.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this set's instead of EX, it's VMAX.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but they usually keep the same ruling.
Yeah,
it's not introducing in a completely new archetype, which
true.
is kind of what Yu-Gi-Oh. Every time their set comes out, there's new archetypes usually. Then and the problem is they want you to, the way Yu-Gi-Oh makes you want to buy stuff, whereas Pokemon, if you want to play competitively, you have to buy the new set because you can only play with the new set.
Yeah.
Whereas the way Yu-Gi-Oh does it, since some people might just use their old deck, is sometimes they'll ban or severely hinder whatever was currently meta, which is usually the newest set, something in the newest set. They'll hurt that deck, and then they release something that's even more broken, that's untouched.
That's confusing.
So then people who want to win are more likely to buy those sets.
Yeah.
And try and build a deck out of those. So, and you don't get, usually the good cards are the hardest to get card in the box. So you have to buy multiple boxes or spend a lot of money on them singly.
Yeah.
As singles. So that's how they get you.
That makes sense.
So anyways, going more. You started, I got you in.
You got me into Yu-Gi-Oh a bit, and then I made a pendulum deck.
Yes.
For the Performa Pals. And then I have like that. And then our old friend Ethan back in the day sold us
his
Battling Boxer deck to me for like $20. We played a few rounds.
Yeah. Battling Boxers are fun, but they would never be competitively good because they're so slow.
But about a year or two ago, I played some Yu-Gi-Oh because they've introduced something new inside of. So they have like the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh obviously with the packs, and they have the starter decks, and now they've introduced something called Speed Duels.
Okay.
Which is basically like older style decks, and they're cut in half. So instead of 60, it's 30, and you have like special cards and everything, but it's specifically for
you
Speed
say
Duel.
60, but most Yu-Gi-Oh decks are 40.
I know. I say up to 60 because that was the standard ruling.
Yeah. So up to 30.
Yeah.
So these are like the ones that you just buy as mini decks.
Yeah, and they're just Speed Duels, and it's usually like, so in the one pack.
But do you know if there's a Speed Duel scene, or is it just for fun with those?
I think it's more for fun. So people that are trying to get into Yu-Gi-Oh, I think.
Trying to get in or once played older stuff.
Because so they're doing in sets. So just not even a month ago, the Speed Duel GX set came out. But all before that was like.
Had fusions?
Yeah.
Fun.
It was only that. So you played as Kaiba or you played as Yugi, and they were all based on the decks that he had. So like,
Yeah,
the
based
Kaiba
on
deck
character
was,
decks. That makes sense.
So there was a Joey deck, there was a Valentine deck. Trying to remember the other characters, but I'm pretty sure there was a Raptor deck. All the characters
Someone
from the
tells me
original.
none of these cards are legal in a regular Yu-Gi-Oh setting either.
Probably not.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
But it'd be fun to play.
But yeah.
What about for you?
For me, I think there's fun fusion decks. I think there's fun synchro decks. I think there's fun XYZ. Pendulum didn't play much. So for me, my favorite era is the XYZ, but before Pendulums, like somewhere in that area. It's kind of the sweet spot. I also say that as one of my favorite archetypes to play, which actually Matt has the mic on one of the playmats that I have from a World Championship qualifier, which is the Mermails. Those are like one of my all-time favorite archetypes. And
another big one for you is Black
Wings. Black Wings are one of my favorite as well, but they're not. Mermails are good.
Mm-hmm.
Black Wings were good when synchros were first coming out.
Okay.
They were pretty awesome. But Mermails were able to hold strong through different eras, like not full eras, but they held strong through different metas.
Okay.
Where they were always like a fringe deck or like a solid A tier deck, but not an S tier deck. But when they're S tier, they were broken as hell.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I love their art. Is a big thing. They're like sea monsters, which is cool. And Matt's played against me with them. They're pretty solid.
So I suck at Yu-Gi-Oh.
Doesn't help either. But they're fun. They're quick. They're fun. On the new Yu-Gi-Oh game, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Legacy of the Duelist or?
Yep, the one that I've played.
No, it's the other one then. The
Master Duel.
Yeah, the one that is their version of like you can play people online.
Master Duels, yeah, because you can play on your PC. You can play on your
I
Switch.
have pretty close to like the Mermail deck I have.
Dang.
And it's just fun to play every now and then. But I'm not super up to date. Well, it's super expensive and I don't play competitively, so there's no point. And I just don't want to learn all the rules for the new stuff. That's like my issue. Like, so I would say that kind of sweet spot right before Pendulums is kind of
That's fair.
my favorite.
Well, if you're still listening, if you guys ever want to watch us play a Pokemon duel or a Yu-Gi-Oh duel or Magic or something, let us know in the comments.
We can definitely record our POVs and post it on our play channel on YouTube.
Exactly.
Which is the Nerdy Misfits play.
Correct. Which will hopefully have content soon.
Hoping to have content. Well, as you are listening, hopefully there's content on both YouTube channels.
Go check it out and subscribe, and then let us know.
Check all our socials out. This has been Matthew and Connor, and we'll see you guys next
week.
Time. Well, next week.
Next week. We'll see you next week.
Oh my gosh.
Every week is a Nerdy Misfit week.
We're going to see you next week.
Bye.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you. And see you next week.